The morning sun bathed Willow Creek Lane in a soft, golden glow, the kind of light that promised a perfect day. Sprinklers hissed gently, and the faint scent of fresh-cut grass drifted through the air. A child's laughter echoed from down the block, mingling with the distant saw beep 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 saw of a delivery truck. It was a Tuesday like any other in this quiet suburban enclave until it wasn't. On the second-floor balcony of a weathered duplex, Eleanor Grayson stood, her movements slow and deliberate. At 74, she wore a pale blue housecoat adorned with tiny white roses and a pair of faded slippers. In one hand she clutched a battered red watering can, its side dented from a long-ago mishap involving her son, Nathan. Her other hand gripped the railing as she poured water into her cherished marigolds and lavender, her small oasis in a world that sometimes felt too heavy for her fragile frame. After a knee replacement, and a bad fall the previous winter, Eleanor knew her limits. But this balcony, these flowers, the sight of kids trudging to school with backpacks bouncing, that was her sanctuary, her joy, her right. Then Vanessa Caldwell appeared. Vanessa, the iron-fisted president of the Willow Creek Homeowners Association, was a force of nature wrapped in a navy blazer, her community standards officer, patch gleaming like a badge of war. With sunglasses perched on her nose even in the shade and a voice that could slice through steel, she didn't just walk the neighborhood, she patrolled it, a self-appointed queen. For years she'd had it out for Eleanor. First it was a non-compliant birdbath. Then a porch light deemed too bright. Once she cited Eleanor's slightly worn welcome mat for aesthetic disruption. Every month brought a new grievance, each one delivered with a smile that never reached her eyes. But that morning, Vanessa wasn't here to issue a warning. She was here to destroy. A neighbor, peering through half-drawn blinds, later described Vanessa's approach as a storm in human form. She marched down the sidewalk, her blazer flapping, her steps heavy with purpose. She didn't knock, didn't hesitate, just charged up the outdoor staircase, 2 steps at a time, as if the property were hers to command. "Eleanor, you can't loiter up here like some vagrant," she barked, her voice carrying across the street. Eleanor, ever calm, turned with a soft "Pardon?" But Vanessa was already on the landing, pointing an accusing finger. "You're ruining the street's curb appeal. We've had multiple complaints about your presence making this place look cheap." Eleanor set her watering can down, careful not to spill. Violence was unthinkable to her, unimaginable. But not to Vanessa. In one swift motion, she stepped forward, pressed both palms against Eleanor's chest, and saw. The railing grazed Eleanor's arm as she twisted, her slippers catching the stair's edge. 6 concrete steps. A bone-jarring thud echoed as she hit the landing below, a sound so sharp it set a dog barking and a toddler crying 2 houses down. Vanessa didn't gasp, didn't move to help. She stood frozen, breathing hard, staring at the crumpled figure at her feet. Then, with eerie calm, she descended the stairs, pulled out her phone, and dialed 911. "There's been an accident," she said, her tone flat as glass. "An elderly woman slipped. I was just walking by." By the time paramedics arrived, Eleanor was barely conscious, her moans low and guttural, each breath a battle against pain. Vanessa lingered at the base of the stairs, arms folded, repeating her lie. "I found her like that." Nathan Grayson's phone rang at 9:42 a.m. The hospital was 12 miles away. He made it in 9 minutes, his heart pounding louder than the engine. They wouldn't let him see his mother immediately, something about stabilization. He sat in a sterile hallway, the air thick with antiseptic and stale coffee, surrounded by posters about fall risks and heart attack symptoms. A nurse finally emerged, her face kind but tired, clutching a clipboard. "She's stable, but it's serious. For cracked ribs, a dislocated elbow, and severe spinal bruising. She's in pain, on sedatives." When Nathan entered the room, his breath caught. Eleanor's skin was ghostly, her lips dry, oxygen tubes snaking from her nose. Her left cheek was swollen purple. Her right hand, the one that once sketched intricate garden plans, was wrapped in gauze, fingers stiff and twisted. A monitor saw relentlessly, mocking the chaos that had brought her here. He took her good hand. "Mom!" Her eyes flickered open, wincing. Her lips moved, a faint whisper. Nathan leaned closer. "She did it on purpose, Nathan. She wanted me out of the way." In that moment, something inside Nathan shifted. Not sorrow, not yet. Rage. Not the reckless kind that burns out fast, but a cold, surgical fury, the kind that sharpens focus, that waits. Vanessa hadn't just hurt his mother. She'd pushed her down a staircase and walked away, thinking no one would dare challenge her reign. She was about to learn how wrong she was. 3 days later, every mailbox on Willow Creek Lane held a letter-white envelope, glossy HOA seal, red letters screaming, "Saw resident alert saw." Inside, on official letterhead, was Vanessa's account. On April 6, Eleanor Grayson initiated an altercation with HOA President Vanessa Caldwell. Per Caldwell's sworn statement, Grayson, in a state of agitation, lunged forward, lost her footing, and fell. Caldwell immediately called emergency services. No remorse, no concern, just blame, polished and preemptive. Worse, it was printed in the HOA's monthly newsletter, nestled beside tips for lawn care. Vanessa's lie was now gospel. Neighbors began to murmur. Some avoided Nathan's gaze, others offered half smiles, unsure where to stand. They didn't fully buy Vanessa's story, they just didn't want her crosshairs on them. Her power wasn't legal, it was primal. Social control, fear's grip, the kind that silences you because you've seen the cost of defiance. The Millers fined Dula $250 for a non-standard fence post. The Garcias, forced to remove their kids' swing set over safety concerns. The Wilsons cited for a porch planter that clashed with community tones. All roads led to Vanessa. Her letters, citations, and warnings, each laced with legal jargon and veiled judgment, were her scepter and sword. But Nathan wasn't like the others. He was Eleanor Grayson's son, and Vanessa had underestimated the fire she'd ignited. He went to the police, bypassing the rookie who'd taken the initial report and meeting Sergeant Nora Blake, a sharp-eyed veteran with a no-nonsense air. "I want the case reopened," Nathan said. She skimmed the file, her brow furrowing. "No witnesses, no cameras. The report says she fell. No signs of a struggle. She was pushed." "Maybe," Blake said carefully. "But without evidence, it's a tough sell." Nathan's jaw tightened. "So she walks because she's clever? The law needs more than suspicion." He left with a knot of fury in his chest, but also clarity. Vanessa's power stemmed not from the law, but from the HOA's bylaws, her personal arsenal. If that was her battlefield, he'd outmaneuver her. That night, Nathan printed the HOA code, 80 pages of dense, sanctimonious text. He spread them across his dining room, a general mapping his war. The rules were a mess of contradictions and vague clauses, granting the board Vanessa total control. She'd built a kingdom on technicalities. He'd tear it down with them. The neighborhood grew tense. A dog barked too long? Fine. A mailbox left unpainted? Notice. Old Mrs. Harper got a letter for Ivy climbing her gate, untouched for decades. Vanessa was tightening her grip, making examples of anyone who might stray. Nathan confronted her once, outside the corner deli. She sipped a latte, her blazer pristine. "You think you'll get away with this?" he asked. Her eyes were ice. "Your mother's erratic. Tragic, but not my fault. You pushed her. She came at me. She's 74. Runs in the family, maybe." Her smirk was a dare. Nathan's fists clenched, but he held back. She wanted a reaction, a reason to paint him as the problem. He snapped a photo of her car instead, parked on a curb, blocking a hydrant. Violation 1. He began filing complaints, each meticulously documented with photos, timestamps, and bylaw references, sent via certified mail, copied to the board, and shared in the community's online portal, signed, "Saw Nathan Grayson, homeowner, son of Eleanor Grayson Saw." By week's end, Vanessa faced the tower of paperwork. He spoke to neighbors, coaxing stories from their fear. Mrs. Clara Wells, a retired teacher, whispered how Vanessa threatened a fine over a noisy porch swing that barely creaked. The Garcias showed photos of their swing set, dismantled under duress. The Millers, the Wilsons. Vanessa wasn't enforcing rules, she saw the rules. Nathan promised. Speak, and I'll stand with you. At the hospital, Eleanor healed slowly, her elbow braced, her spirit unbroken. When Nathan read her Vanessa's newsletter, her lips curled. She's rewriting the truth. Not for long. She smiled faintly. Your father would have torched her office. Do it smarter, Nathan. And he did with Evy Denke, persistence, and cold defiance. The HOA handbook was Vanessa's weapon, 80 pages of bureaucratic venom. Nathan dissected it, highlighters blazing, tabs marking every flaw. He filed against her fence 3 inches too tall, unapproved. Her lawn ornaments unlisted, despite her own citations against others. Holiday lights left up too long, trash bins misplaced, each violation a needle in her armor. She retaliated, citing Nathan for a misaligned hedge and a non-compliant mailbox latch. Petty, but that was her game. He played it better. At the next HOA meeting, in a drab basement hall, he laid out his filings, 30 violations, each a dagger. This is selective enforcement. Hypocrisy. Abuse. Vanessa sat stone-faced, but the room listened. He held up photos, her illegal lights, her chipped mailbox, her uninspected patio. Silence. Then a murmur. Vanessa adjourned the meeting, but the seed was planted. Nathan distributed complaint templates, pre-filled with bylaw references. Slowly, they trickled in Clara's, the Garcias, the Wilsons. Vanessa doubled her patrols, her blazer a warning, her notebook a threat. But she was slipping. One Wednesday she snapped. Clara's grandson, 12-year-old Liam, had left a trash bin slightly askew. Vanessa stormed up, screaming, "Violation!" She shoved the bin, spilling its lid. "You people don't respect standards." Liam, wide-eyed, raised his phone, streaming live. The video exploded online, thousands of VYUs, comments raging. Screaming at a kid over trash? Fire this tyrant! By morning, it hit local forums, and Vanessa's facade cracked. She skipped patrols, posted a vague newsletter apology about reassessing standards. Too late. The neighborhood saw her a bully exposed. Eleanor, home now, laughed at the video. Did you send it to her? The internet did. Vanessa's cage had trapped her. The video hit 20,000 VYUs, a local uproar. Nathan saw the missing piece, Eleanor's voice. Despite her pain, she wrote 5 pages, her handwriting shaky but resolute. All right. You read. At the next HOA meeting, the basement buzzed with 50 residents, unprecedented. Vanessa, in stark white, feigned calm. Nathan stood, citing a bylaw for an emergency vote. Hands rose 44. He read Eleanor's words. On April 6th, Vanessa Caldwell pushed me down 6 steps. I remember pain, my ribs breaking, lying helpless. He held up a photo Eleanor in her hospital bed, bruised but defiant, captioned, "Saw I'm still here." Saw the room stilled. I move for no confidence in Vanessa Caldwell. Hands surged. 46 votes. Vanessa was ousted. She stood, trembling. I built this HOA. You think a photo and paperwork will ruin me? Nathan was steady. You ruined yourself. I just showed them how. Ida V. White's 50 detailed her threats, her harassment. Clara spoke of Liam's nightmares. The Garcias, the Wilsons, even old Mr. Vance, a reclusive veteran, stood. She's done. The vote was crushing, 35-3. Vanessa left in silence, her reign shattered. But power lingers. The street went quiet, no notices, no patrols. Paul, the interim president, floundered. Nathan organized a listening session. Stories poured out, fines for chalk drawings, Union v. Ted yard inspections. They rewrote the bylaws, curbed presidential power, and formed a watch group to rebuild trust. Vanessa stayed, a ghost on the block, her glares empty. One day, Nathan saw her struggling with groceries. He remembered Eleanor's whisper, saw she wanted me gone. Saw he didn't move. Weeks later, a law firm offered pro bono representation. Your mother's case is a stand against bullies cloaked in rules. They sued for assault and injury, seeking due law $300,000. Vanessa's lawyer blamed Eleanor, claiming defamation. But her own cameras betrayed her. Footage showed the shove, her cold retreat. At the hearing, the tape played to a packed courtroom. Gasps filled the silence as Eleanor fell. The judge, stone-faced, demanded Vanessa speak. She couldn't. Eleanor testified, voice steady. I was pushed. The case moved to trial, the footage damning. Outside, reporters swarmed. Eleanor said, she pushed me. Now justice pushes back. The trial ended with Vanessa liable de la $300,000, anger management, community service. She sat, diminished, as the gavel fell. Willow Creek exhaled, not lighter, but freer. A sign appeared on Eleanor's mailbox. Saw Eleanor Lanhan Vanessa. Saw power poisons fast. Silence enables it. But a camera, and the courage to show its truth, can break even the strongest tyrant.